Welcome to this edition of the Phil Taylor Jones Show. Today we're going to be talking about what else? Political stuff. Stuff that's going on in this crazy country of ours that shouldn't be attracting that much negative attention, but actually is, and the idiots that are causing this to be so. I'm Phil Taylor Jones, your host, and we're going to be taking a very close look at what's going on with none other than Donald Trump. It seems that I believe it was maybe Friday or so, he was up in Washington giving a speech at one of his rallies, and yet again a bunch of protesters decided that they would block up the streets to keep people from getting to the venue. There were about 5 of them, a mixture of both male and female protesters. They had the PCV pipes and I guess the handcuffs within, and then they actually chained themselves to A-frame ladders and were chanting their various things, dump Trump and hatred stuff, all this kind of crapola. Now, obviously they were paid by Soros or someone else that's trying to get people to dump the Trump. Or maybe they were actually honest-hearted in their efforts. But here's my problem with it. And again, folks, I'm going to try to hold on to my temper because you very well know I can lose it. But on our last show, I totally lost it. I'm going to try to control it this time. But forgive me if I cut loose. Here's the problem I have now. You know, under our Constitution, what have you, we have the right to protest, although these protests of late have gotten totally out of hand, in my opinion. But you don't have the right to block up streets. You don't have the right to clog up freeways. You don't have the right to destroy other people's property, to break out people's windows, either in their personal dwelling units or their businesses. Some things you are not supposed to do in your protest, to stand at the side of the road and hand out flyers or hold up your signs or do your chants. Okay, that's covered under the Constitution. But what these people are doing across the nation when it comes to Donald Trump's rallies is ludicrous. It's dangerous, and it's a total disruption of civic activity. Now, obviously this was a two-way drag here. People going up the street and coming back down the street. Now, okay, they don't want Trump protesters to go to the rally. Okay. But on that thoroughfare, there are people going to all sorts of venues. There are people maybe having to go to the doctor, the dentist. Maybe they had to go to work. Maybe they had to pick up their children. Things that people do from day to day in their lives. And whose right is it to block up traffic so that people can't do this? And the exec looked up some information for me, and it was on a Saturday, this last Saturday. Now, adding insult to further injury, on Saturday, people take care of a lot of business because they're working throughout the week and they can't get out there. So how dare these bastards clog up the street like that? Now, as I said before, there were 5 of them, about 4 or 5 of them. And I don't know the mentality of people these days, but you could see they had traffic backed up. Oh, it was as far as you can see. Why wouldn't all of these drivers, these motorists, get out of their cars, go and physically pick these 5 bastards up and their A-frame ladders and put them on the side of the road, and take the vehicles that they had blocking the road, take a big rig or something and push those cars off to the side and keep rolling? So now if you want to press charges with us, that's your next best job. Or press charges on us, that's your next best job, because you are not cars. You don't belong in the street. This is a thoroughfare for motor vehicles. You're not. And another thing, I feel that the police officers and their heads should be more proactive They know that Donald Trump is coming to town because the Secret Service agents will call the police and say, okay, we're going to have a Trump rally at thus and so place. Just like they do with old bastard when he comes to town. They have streets cordoned off. They have officers there at the ready in case somebody, tries something nasty. These little bastards were out there holding up traffic for hours before police officers showed up. And then after they showed up, then they went about their business. One girl, they were trying to pick her up and she was resisting and her arm sort of twisted. And one reporter for this pitiful show, Democracy Now! Oh, look at what he's doing to her arm. Oh, her arm is about to be broken. Oh, it's terrible. No, it's terrible for her to have a narrow ass in the street blocking traffic. So whatever happens to her, hey, fine. She knew what she was going to get into when she went out there and did that stupid act, so let them break her arm. As far as I'm concerned, they could break something else. All of this is lunacy. And here's the part where I'm going to try to hold my temper. These are Caucasian people. Donald Trump is a Caucasian man. They're against their own countrymen. What is he trying to do? He's trying to stop this flow of foreigners into our country. Foreigners that shouldn't be here. Foreigners that shouldn't be here for very dangerous reasons. They try to kill you. They'll try to rape you. They'll try to, do all sorts of injurious things. So you bring drugs into the country to screw up your body. Now, again, are all of them doing that? No. But it's very hard to discern which ones aren't going to do it and which ones are going to do it because they're not wearing signs that says, I'm a nut, stay away from me. I might kill you. Oh, he doesn't want Muslims here. Let me tell you something about Muslims. All this fear about them. Why? Because we've got too many bleeding hearts in this country. Like I said, they've taken down the Twin Towers. They've bombed countries of people. They bombed us here. They've done all sorts of injurious things. They boink little kids. They boink animals. They have all of this Sharia law and all these crazy rituals. And this is just your regular run-of-the-mill Muslim. I'm not talking about the extremist jihadist ones. They're way off the hook. Just the regular ones. Now, what good do they do when they come to this country? They build their own mosques. They celebrate their way. And they tell us what they're offended by. In our lifestyle, in our country. A person with common judgment would ask themselves, is this what we need? Do we really need this in our country? And would have to answer a resounding no. Now, other folks that come from other countries, they may come up with the fact, well, it's an economic thing. And even some of the presidential candidates like Slithery Clinton and Grandpa Sanders, we need them here. They help our economy. Okay, this is true. This is true. I've said it so many times before. Suppose any ethnicity that comes over here, they may want to say, we bring $10 billion to the table in economic strength. This is true. But a lot of them who are not, shall we say, as productive as this group that's brought the 10 billion to the table, they come over and sponge off us. They sponge off our medical system. They sponge off our educational system. They sponge off of governmental help systems like welfare and food stamps and things like that. And they sponge off of the legal system by which they commit their little crimes, whether they be little tiny crimes, misdemeanors, or whether they be full-blown felonies. And who has to pick up that tab? The American people. Because remember, these illegal ones come over here with only their scent and what little raggedy clothes they have on their backs. They have no visible means of support. So when they get into trouble, when they get sick, when they get hungry, when they want to put the kids in school, when they want to do certain things, it's the American people that have to pick up the tab. It's the federal government that has to help pick up the tab. So if they bring $10 billion to the table with all of the crap that they bring with them in baggage, that may end up being 110 billion. The little 10 billion that they brought to the table is lost in the shuffle. When will American people understand that? Now, to you well-to-do folks, or you upper middle class people who live in your little, your little pristine neighborhoods, where a BMW is in every driveway except for the driveways that have Mercedes Benzes or Rolls Royces or Porsches in them, you don't understand. Because rarely do you come out of your little wonderful television land neighborhoods to deal with the crap that a lot of other people have to deal with. You don't know what it is to go in a store and have little kids running up and down the aisles with baskets, running into your ankles, your heels, running over your toes, bumping into you with such a force it almost knocks you over to the pork and beans. You don't have to put up with that. Those folks that have to go to the laundromat. See, you don't have to do that because you got your little washer and dryer, your little designer washer and dryer. So you can go put your little loads in whenever you want. But a lot of people have to use the laundromat. How would you have to wait until 3 o'clock in the morning or get up at 3 o'clock in the morning just to go and do your laundry? How would you like that? Most of you live in your little neighborhoods and your downtown consists of just a few blocks. Well, the big metropolitan area, you can't even walk for foreigners. You can't walk for them. They're shoving false IDs in your face or fake bus passes or just in the way clogging up the streets. You don't have to put up with that. So therefore, you have this bleeding heart for them, you bleeding liberal lunatics. Ludicrous liberal lunatics. You have this bleeding heart for foreigners. Oh, the refugees, they're in peril and they're starving and the children are dying and we should let them in. We should let them in by the hundreds of thousands. Because chances are you're not going to have to put up with them. Oh, but they need jobs and they need a good place to stay. Yes, I agree with you. But they need jobs and a good place to stay in their country of origin, not in ours. We've had enough of this. Donald Trump sees this. He knows this, and he's the only one willing to do something about it. More than ever, we need Donald Trump. We need somebody to make the tough call. We need somebody to ruffle the feathers because those deadheads and those muckety-mucks that have been over there in Washington and in every other governmental installation, both local and state, have failed to do that. Failed. They don't want to make the tough call. They don't want to be hated. They want to do the politically correct thing. Well, that is not worth a tinker's damn. As I've said so many times in other shows, American people are hurting. American people in the past 4 years have committed suicide than at any other period except for the Great Depression. Why? Because political muckety-mucks are playing footsie under the table and not doing the job we need and elected them to do. Donald Trump seems to be that person. Because even in this juncture of his campaign, when he could be made or broken by what he says what he wants. He tells it like it is. So I'm thinking if he does this now when everybody is so careful about picking what they want to say because they don't want to get thrown out or looked upon as a bad presidential candidate, he doesn't give a damn. And if he does it in little, he'll do it in big. We need somebody to shut the door. Immigration shouldn't even be mentioned in this country. We've had enough. We've been having people come in this country since it's been known as a country. It's time to stop that. Build a wall with no door, shut them out. All of the foreigners that haven't gotten in here thus far won't make it. We've got enough people in this country that we need to get straight, that we need to help. One of them being our veterans. We don't care about them. Donald does. We don't need Slithery Clinton in there. We don't need Grandpa Sanders because they are weak. Their game is tired. They are career establishment politicians. I don't care if Grandpa Sanders says he isn't. He is. He's been in there 30 years or more. What the hell has he done? But established himself in a fat seat where he gets a fat salary, just like Slithery Clinton. Hers is fatter because she snuzzles up with the rich boys at Goldman Sachs and the Koch brothers and all these other rich muckety mucks. But they're still establishment creeps who haven't done a bloody thing for this country but stuff their own pockets with as much of our graft as they possibly can. So to you naysayers out there, all of you dump the Trump people, all of you protesters that claims he's a hate monger and that he's an Islamophobe and he's every other kind of phobe. Here's my question to you jackasses. What the hell do you want? What the hell do you want? Because with every ounce of your fiber, when you go against this man, here's what you're telling me. I like the country the way it is. I like that foreigners have come over and have pushed our jobs away and made it so hard for us to live that a dollar doesn't even go as far as it did yesterday. I like that. It's cool. It's spectacular. Ooh, can't you all jump on board with this? It's so great. That's what you're saying. Because anybody knows, anybody with an ounce of brains knows that being in $20 trillion worth of debt is not a good thing. To have people come over to your country to sponge off you and you take care of them better than the ones that were born here and that are on the streets hurting, that's not a good thing. You're saying that you want these foreigners to come over. But our soldiers that are out there fighting are fighting in some cases with antiquated equipment. And certainly our veterans who have fought several wars that are here, suffering, starving, in dire need of medical attention, you're telling them that it's good that they're out there. It's wonderful. It's a good thing. And if you feel that way, then you need your head examined. You're telling these politicians that they're doing a good job, that you support them, that you're happy with what they're doing. That makes you the biggest fool that ever walked on two legs. No, Donald Trump doesn't believe that. America used to be great. It used to be the greatest nation on the face of this earth. When we had people in there that had enough gumption and guts to make the tough call. Say, no, it's not going to be like this. It won't be like that. Getting in all these stupid wars that mean nothing is the degradation of this nation. We are paying for people's protection that have their own armed forces. We're playing footsie under the table so that I can put a few bombs in your country, or you can put a few bombs in my country, or we can do this. I can keep an eye on that one from over there. And yeah, if you let us in, they're playing a dead man's game. Does it help us? Maybe in some way it does. But in the vast majority, in the vast scheme of things, no, it doesn't. It's just them playing their little stupid war games. ISIS, ISIL, Islamic State, or self-proclaimed. Do I see them as a big threat? Not really. I do see them as a threat. But if you look at how they operate, they like to go into countries where they don't have much resistance. They come into this country and they do a little few skirmishes, like blow up a few people, but they know, they're not stupid. They may be idiots, but they're not stupid. They know that there are more patriots over here than these jackasses that are talking about Trump and all that. They know, they know that there are patriots here with guns and that they will use them. They will blow their ISIL asses to kingdom come. They know that. And if they come over here waving and tooting, they're going to get some rooting and shooting. A bullet right up their ISIL ass. And they know that. So they'll go over there or stay over there and do their little thing. And yeah, they'll try to send a little skirmish this way, but yeah, that's easy to do if you've got an open door policy, which Mr. Trump does not want. If you're letting known people, a group that is very violent and very strange, but you're willing to let them in your country. Oh, we welcome the refugees. No, we don't. I don't. I don't welcome them because I don't know who they are. How many of you dump the Trumpers out there have locks on your doors? How many of you dump the Trumpers out there have gates and fences around your property? How many of you dump the Trumpers out there have sophisticated alarm systems in your home? Why? Don't you welcome the burglars? Don't you think they should have a better life? Oh, strangers that are lurking around your neighborhood? Don't you want to open the door to them and give them tea and crumpets? You can't have it both ways, you jackass. You protect your home, you protect your car, you protect whatever you have. There's a reason for that. Because you know in your heart of hearts and in that feeble, crusted mind of yours that everybody in this world is not your damn friend. So if you're going to be this way with your home and your car, then why are you so free-handed with your damn country? Wake up and learn some sense. Instead of downing Donald Trump or criticizing him, you should be praising the man. Hate groups. Oh, I think it's really proper to love somebody who's trying to kill you. Oh, I love you so much as you're driving that knife through my heart. Or as you're taking that axe and chopping my head off. The last words, I love you, ISIS, or whoever. Are you that stupid? Obviously so, because you're out there holding up traffic. Now, we have to put in the factor, too, that they're being paid. You know, some of them paid upwards of $4,000 or $5,000 to go out there and do that crap. It's ridiculous. If this country further fails, it will be at your hand, you idiot, you. Because you know you have nothing in Washington. Nothing. They claim that they're so good, but you catch them in lies. And you've shown the world that you are the biggest fool in it by wanting or even considering to put Hillary Clinton in office. A known crook, a known criminal. And this is the best you can do? The world is laughing at you up your ass and down through your spleen. To address something else that I saw on telly last evening, and it kind of dovetails into this. Los Angeles, where I unfortunately reside, is the foremost place for homeless people. In fact, it's so bad here that they've declared a homeless state of emergency. We're talking about 1,100 people per night, mostly women and children, in one of the largest missions we have in the city. So they had these two people up there. One of them was one of the people who runs a mission that has been here for over 120 years. And he was saying that it's in dire straits now because all of these families are just here and they're out in, you know, on the streets and what have you. So like I said, they had the two yokels up there. And one of the moderators asked, why do you think it has gotten so bad? How could this have happened? Because we're talking about like an influx of homeless people from just 2 years ago. So one of them answered, well, it's a governmental problem, and you know they're not wanting to give enough money, enough funding, and we need to put people in homes whether or not they have a drug problem or a drinking problem, because we need to get them off the streets. They don't have anywhere to put their insulin or their medications or what have you, and just some of that part that could be true. And then the other one said, well, because the rents are so high, and you know, yada yada. Okay, he kind of hit it on the head about the rents, and I'll get into that in a bit. The both of them failed to bring into fold about this foreigner situation, letting all these foreigners come over here, and just suck up everything if they can get it. And then some of them come over here and they're homeless. It's ridiculous. That needs to be addressed. Now, whether or not Donald can get rid of all 11 million that are already here, I don't know. That's a big undertaking, and it's an expensive undertaking. If it were my job to do, I wouldn't try to get rid of them, except the ones that are known criminals, have heinous records, have done heinous things. Yeah, you're out. Like a bad smell, get out of here. But those that have sponged off this country, and their only crime is the fact that they've trespassed, you going to work, Junior. You going to work. And you're going to work for your citizenship. Not a path to it. You're going to work for it. You're going to get an ankle bracelet. Like I said, I would spend the money to make a big concentration camp for them all. 3. One to cover the East Coast, one to cover the West Coast, and one to cover the center. And they would be put in there, and they would be able to go and do whatever job it was for them to do. And when they came home at night, they would be going to school to learn their citizenship methodology and coursework. And at the end of that, when they get their little paper and the little flag, the ankle bracelet comes off. You can stay here at the compound and help others, or you can go out into the mainstream because now you're a citizen. Tax paying, flag waving citizen, okay? But I also would shut the door. No more coming in. No more. Forget it. Now, here's what irks me to the bone. Sure, I know that landlords and banks and housing corporations, what have you, they have to look out for their costs. I know this. I used to be a property owner myself, a landlord. But having said that, I also know that a tenant or a householder is a consumer. They need to have a good product for their buck. And a lot of these landlords, well, first of all, before I get to the landlords for apartments, let's talk about housing. A lot of these banks, a lot of these financial institutions that have over housing are just gutting people like a fish, gutting them. Parts of neighborhoods, parts of the town. If you live in this part of town, the same house that you could get back of town is going to be $1 million more than the one you get over here, just because you happen to live next to a body of water. Prime real estate. It's ridiculous, and it has gotten way out of hand. Nobody has a handle on it. So if you can't buy a house, what's your next alternative? You'll go and rent an apartment. And some of these greedy, unscrupulous landlords up the rents. You just wouldn't believe some of the stuff that I personally have seen from acquaintances of ours or relatives of ours. It's just ludicrous. Ludicrous. They will lie to the government. So before you can rent an apartment, you got to prove that that apartment is rentable. All of the bases have to be covered. It has to have heating, proper cooking and ventilation. It has to have so much square footage per person. It has to be tight. The building and safety codes have to be met. A lot of that stuff. Well, a lot of these unscrupulous foreign landlords are defrauding the government, because I know personally of some good friends of ours who are living in an apartment that has no heat. She has to turn on the stove to keep warm, but yet she's paying about $900 a month for rent in a little cracker box that she can barely get around in. She's meeting herself as she turns around in the place. The place doesn't even have a bedroom. It's a single apartment. No heat. Now, they just went up on the rent for her, and that was ridiculous. How did they do it? He goes down the landlord, and he says everything in the apartment is A-OK, checks off every box. They don't check. They issue him the rentability certificate or the go-ahead so he can rent, and that's how he's been doing it. It's a 42-unit building. Now you count, and I'm not saying this is apropos for every apartment, but let's just say every apartment was $900. You do the math, 900 times 42 units. This bastard's taking in quite a bit of money every month. Every month. And doesn't look out for the tenants. He just not only went up on the lady's rent, but saddled her with her own electrics. It used to be utility-free building, but now he saddled her with her own electrics. Instead of loading up the roof with solar panels, because there's nothing up there but a few little pipes, loading up the roof with solar panels so that he, the landlord, could benefit and all the tenants could benefit. These people are greedy and unscrupulous, is the reason why many people are out on the streets. It's so ridiculous, people. You probably know about it in your neck of the woods, but out here in California, it's ridiculous. Just ludicrous what they're having people do. You got no perks. This poor lady, she's got no dedicated parking. She has to park her car wherever, and it's been vandalized. She's got no on-site laundry facilities, no heating, no air conditioning, and all the windows in her apartment are on one side, so the ventilation is terrible. She almost roasts in there in the summertime. No internet, no perks. None. Except pay your rent on time. Even in the building we live in, I've noticed they don't really care. See, the difference between apartment buildings and houses are people don't want apartment buildings in the neighborhood because they're neighborhood busters. See, when you plunk down X amount of dollars, for your down payment on a home, then chances are next month when the house payment comes due, you're going to get up and move. No, you're going to stay there. But with an apartment, it's different. Some people, when I was teaching, I was always correcting this one student's anecdotal file. Why? Because he'd move. I said, good Lord, little fella, why do you guys move so much? Because every time when my mommy and daddy have to pay the rent, we have to move. Constant, in and out, new tenants, in and out. And all of them aren't good. So that's why people don't want apartments in their neighborhood, because you don't never know what you're going to get. And the motto with these landlords today, they don't want quality tenants. They don't want good tenants. Fill up that building. Get the rent. What's wrong with you? Fill up that building. Anything comes by with some money to hand out, and they've got it. So in our building, I've noticed some discrepancies. More foreigners messing up the building, leaving crap. Our building used to be so clean. Now I can see a rundown. It is ridiculous. They bring their crappy customs to our country with them. Donald Trump sees that. He knows that. He's a man about town, a man out of the world. He knows what's going on. More than ever, we need Donald Trump to help clean up this crap that these other idiots have done to this country. You naysayers, you need to either defecate or get off the pot and let somebody else use it. Nobody is paying any attention to you. Those that support the Trump man are supporting the Trump man. You be damned. So you either get with the program or get the hell out the way, because the Trump train is coming through. Exec, you got anything?
Yeah, I guess I'll start with these the ridiculous protesters.
Oh, God.
What they were chanting, Josefina Mora, obviously a foreigner.
Oh, that's that little bastard. They were talking about, her arm is going to be broken. Oh, please. Should have broke her ass.
What they were chanting was, when Indigenous rights are under attack, what do we do? And their protester would say, stand up and fight back. Little do they realize with their ignorance that they're actually supporting Trump with that statement. And I say that because the definition for indigenous is originating or occurring naturally, not coming over illegally, in a particular place, to be more specific, native. So when they're talking about indigenous rights being under attack, that's what the Americans, the veterans, everybody losing their places to live, everybody not having enough money to pay for stuff because they're paying for the foreigners. Those are indigenous rights that are being encroached upon, as you mentioned throughout the show. So by saying indigenous rights are under attack, that's what exactly Donald Trump's trying to do, is trying to protect the peoples that are here rights, because believe you me, just because you live here doesn't mean you're indigenous. You have to be a native person here, and that's really ridiculous. And as one of the protests, what Trump supporters actually said, which kind of dovetails into what you were speaking about, he says, Theodore Roosevelt said that if you want to come into the country, that's fine, but you have to come in to be an American. It's a melting pot.
I remember the gentleman well.
Mm-hmm. You can't come in and be Mexican or, Pakistani or anything like that. I don't care where you're from. If you come into America, you're going to be an American. Like everyone else, you need to contribute to society. So if you come in and you want to say, fly the Mexican flag, then go back to Mexico.
He sure did.
And they're very choosy about that. I've seen them the very first time on May 1st, 2005, I believe it was.
Mm-hmm.
Where they come in here and when they want something, they put the American flag out there, and then other times they have their own flag up there. If you like your country so much and they have like Viva la Mexico on there, then why'd you come here? You love it so much, you go over there and stop taking away from our indigenous people, taking the rights of our indigenous people away. And to do that, it just shows you how insane you are. You're going to lock your hands together with PVC pipe, and there was duct tape or some kind of electrical tape or something. It was black.
Mm-hmm. Wrapped
around about 3 feet of it across the whole thing. So all they have showing is their bicep areas. The rest of it's just totally covered up in PVC pipe and a big old heavy, like you said, A-pillar or,
A-frame ladder.
A-frame ladders. Those things are heavy, and you're just going to stand up there and, that couldn't be healthy for you to have all that circulation cut off either and closed up and everything. And you're just that nuts that you're going to try to block the thing like that. They showed a picture of them on the ground. Obviously, they got knocked down by something.
Mm-hmm. Well, the police officers took them down when they did show up.
And realize that they're encroaching upon the indigenous rights that they claim they think that they deserve by blocking up the streets and blocking the people that were born here, people that live here's rights to get around and try to take care of their business on Saturday. It's just totally insane that they think that they're there for a certain reason. Just give me one moment here. They said why they're exactly there. These protesters, something about, she keeps saying, ow, they're having trouble removing it from their neck. Well, if you didn't put the chains and stuff in there, you wouldn't have trouble removing it from your neck. And what these people were saying, I'm trying to see this part is kind of important here. Well, it had something to do with they're trying to stop and fascists and Trump. They're trying to stop that, basically.
Oh yeah, because I remember now they had a problem with the Ku Klux Klan having rallies out there and what have you, and they didn't want to have any more hate. We need to stop the hate and all of this kind of stuff. Well, if the Ku Klux Klan is talking about keeping muzzies out, then that's hate, not hate. That's common sense. You don't want to bring people into a country, into your country that's, going to be a possible danger to you. And like I said, even the run-of-the-mill ones are dangerous because, they're talking about, well, we're here, we were looking for peace. Well, as far as I'm concerned, and from what I've seen, the only peace they're looking for is a piece of your child's ass. So, if they are there trying to stop this, then that's what needs to be stopped. For years and centuries and, decades, our kids have been able to go around and be, for the most part, okay with moving about in America. But now you got to start watching for these people with these burqas and these hijabs and all this kind of stuff. You don't do that to your own country. And any of these idiots out there that are claiming to be Trump protesters and talking against Donald Trump, or anybody that happens to feel like Donald Trump does, they are idiots, and they should be thrown in jail too for helping to perpetuate the madness. It's crazy. And like I said, more than ever, we need a Donald Trump. We don't need some idiot in there like Paul Ryan. We don't need some idiot in there like Slithery Clinton or any of these other mamby-pamby people who cater to foreigners. And just like you were saying, when they're here, they want something. Oh, it's apple pie. hot dogs and the American flag. But when they get it, it goes back to burritos and the Mexican flag and Villa La Raza and all of this crap. Can you spell opportunistic?
Mm-hmm.
Donald Trump sees this and he wants to put a stop to it. And I am 100% behind the man. The exec is 100% behind the man. Did you ever find that piece that you were looking for?
Not really, but I did find some other interesting things. She was explaining what they were doing and why they were blocking everything. They're getting mixed reviews why they're doing this, mostly negative. Not surprising for Lyndon, Washington. That statement doesn't make any sense. Like, you think any other place would be more accepting of it? You're doing something stupid. You're getting in the people's ways. And, at the very end, last statement that I read, this will be a hate-free land, says the protesters. This will be a hate-free land. Well, you're spreading hate of Donald Trump yourself. Hello.
So stupid. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, here's what I have to say about it. These police officers, like I said, they're given a heads up by the Secret Service because the Secret Service, has to have an open line of communication with local enforcement so that, everything goes as smoothly as possible. Well, these police officers and their chiefs, their heads, know what's been going on in other states at other venues when it concerns the Trump man. If I were a police chief or a captain or whatever, whoever gets the call, I would say, okay, I want to call in every available person on our force. I want every main thoroughfare and a few of the minor thoroughfares covered so that there is no snarl up as far as this man's convention or his rally. As long as the protesters are on the street sides and they're doing their chants, they're holding up their signs, then they're legal. But anybody blocking the darn streets or attempting to block the streets, lock them up and throw away the damn key. Streets and thoroughfares are for cars, not for human beings, unless they are at the crosswalks and crossing expeditiously. But if they're going to try to clog up our streets, they will be clogging up our jails. Count on it. And that's the way it should be. Police departments, you need to be more proactive. What you got?
And what about that Confederate flag thing you were telling me about too?
Oh, right. Well, as they were there talking, the people, I guess the rally had finished because people were coming the other way and they were holding up Trump signs and what have you. And one came by a truck and it had this humongous Confederate battle flag flying. And this one girl who they were interviewing, who was Caucasian, see, that's what I mean right there. That white person is having a Confederate flag and it's showing hate. So I just said, wait. You're a Caucasian person. You're talking about your fellow Caucasian people, talking about hatred and battle flags? I mean, come on. For years, that flag flew down south. They made a television show called The Dukes of Hazzard, and they had a car called the General Lee. It was a Dodge Charger, nice, vibrant orange one. And on the side of the car had 01, and on the top of the car was a Confederate battle flag. You remember that. And then it had General Lee because General Lee was the general over the, Confederate. That show went on for years. Not a problem. Until this kook went into the jail and shot up all these, churchgoers. And he had the battle flag, and now it's just a symbol of hatred. It's just, come on. Anyway, we had to bring that to you. And again, I say, Trump supporters, stay ever vigilant. Don't let these idiots get in your way. And police officers, police stations, police top brass personnel, it's kind of winding down, but there's still a lot of election stuff to go. Please be ever diligent in your activities. You know what goes on. You know how people are when it comes to Donald Trump, especially these idiots who think the man is doing a poor job. Be ready for them. Don't let them take your job over. Make sure that you have your officers in place so that if anybody puts a toe out there in that roadway, that they're immediately arrested, cuffed, and slung in the pokey for a good long time. Not a few hours. Keep them bastards in there for a month. But be ever diligent and make sure that those who want to support the man can support the man. It's a funny thing, you don't ever hear about anybody trying to block Hillary Clinton's rallies or Bernie Sanders rallies. It's only the Trump man, because they're trying to send a dirty message that there's no need to go to his rallies because we're going to stop you and you're not going to be able to support them, but show them where they're wrong. Supporters, rally goers, try to find several different venues or several different ways to get to your venue so that you won't be caught up in somebody else's stupidity. Thank you for watching our show. We appreciate you so much. If you'd like to subscribe to us, I'm losing my voice here. Excuse me. There's a little button right there you can push. We'd be so happy to have you come on board. In this crazy, nutty, mixed up world and country, and it's getting more mixed up as we go along with these ludicrous liberal lunatics, try to maintain some sanity and some happiness, and we'll see you right back here on the Phil Taylor Jones Show. Take care. Bye-bye.